Hello everyone, it is I, Sonic Q 1011, back again with another video, and this is the finale of the 10 Days of Sonic. For today's video, I am gonna rank all the levels in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So, starting off with my least favorite level in the entire game, Sandopolis. This level was the level where I would get stuck in all the time. I'd get lost in this game when I was a kid, and I would usually get time overs in this level, especially in Act 2. And I do like some of the gimmicks that are in this level. I like the fact that if you play as Sonic, you release all the ghosts, and then you gotta deal with them in Act 2, whereas when you play as Knuckles, the ghosts have already been released by Sonic, and as soon as you enter the pyramid, it's already dark in there and you gotta deal with the ghosts. And I do like that, but it's still a pain in the butt. And it still takes me a while to get through this zone. And I mean, I don't get lost anymore, but Sandopolis is definitely my least favorite zone in the entire game. And a lot of people don't like this level either. Anywho, moving on to my second least favorite level in Sonic 3 Knuckles, the Gumball Machine bonus stage. And I'm gonna count the bonus stages because they're levels too. And this is my least favorite bonus stage in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is why it comes in at second place on this list as my least favorite so far. I mean, there's not much to say. It's a gumball machine, and you got the springs. They make you go up and you jump on and collide with the gumball machine, and you can get different power ups like the different monitor power ups. You got the lightning shield, you got the fire shield, and you got the bubble shield, and then you can get extra lives. But I mean, there's not really much to say about this level. It's the only bonus stage you get in Sonic 3 alone as well. So that's where I'd place the Gumball Machine bonus stage. Coming up next is Balloon Park. And yes, the two-player levels are levels, so I'm going to include them in this video. And it's my least favorite two-player level. And, it's kind of got that Carnival Night feel to it. But I hate the beginning of the zone where you gotta wait for the elephant little platform to move so you can fall down and then continue running through the rest of the zone. And I'm not the biggest fan of the music either. It's kind of mid. But that's where I would place Balloon Park. There's really not much to say about it since it's a two-player level. And like I said, the elephant platform is annoying. Moving on to the next level in this list, and it's Carnival Night Zone. So this is the level with the dreaded Barrel of Doom, and I was stuck on that part when I was a kid. I didn't realize you had to just press up and down when you're on top of the barrel. So this is where I placed it on my list. And it's funny because the way that I made it through Carnival Night Zone the first time was I had my best friend play as Tails, I played as Sonic, and I spin dashed as he kept jumping on the barrel. And there was a big enough gap for Sonic to go through there, and it wouldn't work all the time because there's another bug with this game where if Sonic is next to an object and if he's spin dashing, he'll get out of his spin dashing state and actually turn into his running state. But I managed to make it past that level with that. But I also played the level finally with Sonic 3 and Knuckles fully, and I was able to beat it as Knuckles. But still, this is where I'd rank Carnival Night Zone. Next is the Slot Machine bonus stage, and like I said, I'm including the bonus stages. It's better than the Gumball Machine because there's more stuff that you get to interact with, and it plays homage to the special stages in Sonic 1, but again, it's just one big area, and it's very easy to immediately, like, you get into the stage, and sometimes, I mean, since it is a slot machine, there's a chance that you'll end up getting all Eggman, and then you lose all your rings. And then you might just end up hitting the goalpost immediately. So there's not really much to say about this bonus stage, and this is where I'd place it. Yes, I like it better than Carnival Night Zone, but it's pretty weak. Anywho, moving on to the next stage. Azure Lake. Another two-player zone. It's a fun level. I like it better than Balloon Park. But again, two-player level. Would have been cool to see this as a full level, but it's my second least favorite two-player level. And I remember messing around and trying to get the best times in Sonic 3 when, this was before I knew about the debug mode. And there would be times where I'd end up in that quicksand and end up dying and have to go back and redo that part of the stage so I wouldn't get a good time. So that's why I'd put Azure Lake here. There's not much else to say about it. Anywho, moving on to the next level, Death Egg Zone. This level is a pain in the butt, but it is the second to last level, technically. The Act 1 boss, pain in the butt. But it's still a pretty fun level, and I think it's one of the better last stages in the Sonic games. Especially since it leads up to, the whole fight with Eggman, and leading into, the Doomsday Zone, if you get all the Chaos Emeralds. So, that's where I'd place Death Egg. Anywho, moving on to the next level, Hydro City. And yes, it's Hydro City. I do not pronounce it as the other word. I think I made another video about my gaming pet peeves, and that made it there. But, anywho, Hydro City. Not really one of my favorites. It's not even in the middle of my list. This is where I'd place it. It is the water level. But, again, it's better than Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. But it's still not as good as Aquatic Ruin from Sonic 2, in my opinion. But Hydro City, it's an okay level. But as a kid, I was stuck on Act 2. The beginning of Act 2, when you had to outrun the moving platform that's going to crush you. Or the moving wall that's going to crush you. That's where I'd place it on this list because of that. Because it took me a while to finally make it past that. But the music's good, but not the best in the game. And this is where I'd place Hydro City. Moving on to the next one, Mushroom Hill. There's not really much to say about this level. It's the first level in Sonic & Knuckles alone. And in this level, you get to jump on the giant mushrooms that end up acting like springs, which is pretty cool. And then you got the changing of the seasons in Act 2, which I like that as well. The Eggman messes with the weather, so as you're running through the zone, the palette changes. I think that's really neat. But those chicken badniks are a pain in the butt, or the rooster ones. I should say they're not chickens, I don't think. That they blow you back, and you usually end up hitting spikes, so that's annoying. But that's where I'd place Mushroom Hill. It's an okay level, not one of my favorites, but it's also not one of the worst ones either. Anywho, moving on to the next level. Desert Palace. Yes, another two-player level. But I really like the gimmick of this level, and I like the music. And again, there is quicksand in this one, so if you end up falling down on a platform, you'll die, and then you have to redo that part of the level. But again, I don't know, I think if this was a one-player level, it would be really freaking cool to see it like that, because the artwork is amazing, and I like the music, but there's really not much else to say about it, but I do like it a little bit better than Mushroom Hill and everything else I put on this list so far. But anywho, moving on to the next level, Endless Mine. Again, two-player level, but I like the gimmick of this level. It's like a minecart level, like Underground Zone again. But in two-player mode, it's not bad. I think someone might have made a ROM hack and was making all these two-player levels more like the one-player zones. It would have been kind of cool to see this become like an actual full level too, and I like the music. But there's not really much else to say about it. So moving on to the next level, Chrome Gadget. This is my favorite two-player level. I love the music, and I like the gimmick of the level. I like the little fans that lift you up to the next part of the level and stuff. Again, I would have loved to see this be one of the full one-player levels. But other than that, there's not much to say. I like the music. It's one of my favorite songs in a game. So, we'll go on to the next one. The next level in this list is Angel Island. Not the biggest fan of Angel Island. I think it's a good first level for a game. I think it's better than Emerald Hill, slightly. And Green Hill, too, I would say. And I do like the gimmick where, at the beginning of the level, you got Knuckles who punches out Supersonic, catches them off guard, steals all the Chaos Emeralds, and then you're in for a treat. And I love that transition between Act 1 and not really Act 1 and Act 2, internally it is, but the mini boss cutscene when all of a sudden the island is on fire. That's such a cool little thing that they show to show the story of the game. I really like that. And yeah, there's some water segments too because it is an island. So I this is where I'd put Angel Island Zone. But coming up next, Marble Garden. I love this level. I like the spinning tops. I think a lot of people don't care for that gimmick, but I think it's really cool. And you got Sonic exploring the ruins of some type of architecture. And I don't know, I really like this zone. And I like the enemies that look like spikes, but they're not spikes. You know, they're badniks and you can bounce on them. And I even like Knuckles' boss too. I think that's really cool. And then Sonic's boss is kind of a pain in the butt, but I like the gimmick of being able to basically you're on the tornado and you gotta jump on Eggman, and then with Tails you're actually flying and you gotta make sure you hit him with his tails, so that could be kind of challenging. But that's where I'd place Marble Garden Zone. Coming up next, Sky Sanctuary. And this is a nice little level that leads into Death Egg Zone. And it's really cool because you got Knuckles who's finally starting to help you because he realizes, oh wait, you're not the bad guys, Eggman is. And I like how you get to fight Mecha Sonic, the best Sonic clone in my opinion. And if you've seen my video on my favorite characters, you would know that. But I love that Mecha Sonic is the main villain here. However, if you play as it's different for Sonic and Tails and Knuckles. So if you play as Sonic and you play as Tails, you go here and you have to take on Mecha Sonic, and he's got different Eggman mobiles. So he's got the Wrecking Ball one from Sonic 1. Then he's got the Metropolis one from Sonic 2. And I thought that was really cool. A nice throwback to Sonic 1 and 2. And then, of course, with Knuckles, this is his final level, and you get to take on Super Mecha Sonic. So, Sky Sanctuary is such a fun level to play, and I'm really glad this one made it into Generations as well. So, moving on to the next level in this list, Flying Battery Zone. And I really wish this level would have been in Sonic 3 alone and would have been the transition level between from Flying Battery to Ice Cap Zone, because originally it was going to be that Sonic would snowboard down the slope with the Flying Battery's door, and that would have been really cool. And there's ROM hacks that do implement that, and I think that's really neat. And I love the music in Flying Battery, and the mini boss is kind of weird though. I remember being a kid and getting stuck on that mini boss, not really sure what to do and how to defeat it, but eventually I finally figured it out, and I'm like, oh, so he's gotta let him hit himself, so that's pretty cool. But Flying Battery Zone is a good level. I really like this one. Anywho, moving on to the next level in this list, the Glowing Spheres bonus stage. This is the best bonus stage in the entire game. It's actually a lot of fun. I always love trying to make it to the top, and I remember being a kid and not being able to make it to the top, and then eventually I made it. And I think it incorporates the Gumball Machine bonus stage too, because you got those spheres that appear in the Gumball Machine, and you get different power-ups, and I think that's really neat. And it's a really fun level. I actually do like this little bonus stage. Anywho, moving on to the next level in this list, the Doomsday Zone. This is such a good final level. I love this level. You go on there, you're hypersonic, you gotta hurry up and chase after Eggman, you got all these asteroids coming towards you, you gotta collect rings to make sure that you don't run out, because once you run out, that's it, you're gonna lose a life. And you're chasing after Eggman because he stole the Master Emerald. This is such an intense final zone, and the only way you get to play it is if you collect all the Chaos Emeralds and all the Super Emeralds, and it's so fun. I remember unlocking this and beating it, and I was just blown away. I had so much fun playing this zone back in the day for the first time. It is such a good final zone for a Sonic game. Moving on to the next level in this list, the Blue Spheres special stage, and I love this special stage. It's actually my second favorite in the franchise. It used to be my favorite until I played Sonic CD via Origins, and I just kept playing the UFO special stages over and over again. Still love Blue Spheres. I still love the fact that you can connect a cartridge, any Genesis cartridge, to your Sonic and Knuckles cart and get a Blue Spheres level. But, of course, to unlock the full Blue Spheres, you gotta connect Sonic 1 to Sonic and Knuckles. It's such a fun level. I love the special stage in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I love that it became a bonus stage in Sonic Mania as well. So this is where I place Blue Spheres. Anywho, moving on to my fourth favorite level in the entire game, Launch Base. I like this level. It was a good final level for Sonic 3 alone, and it does a great job incorporating and moving the story when you are playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And you got Sonic and Tails and Knuckles going after Eggman, who's about to launch up into space. And then, of course, if you play as Sonic, then you get interrupted by Knuckles, of course. I think that's really fun. And then it's funny because you end up going inside of Eggman's little pod, and of course Knuckles stops you there on your way to take on Big Arms. It's such a good level. I love Launch Base. Anywho, moving on to my third favorite level in the entire game, in Hidden Palace Zone. And I know what you're thinking. When you play as Knuckles, this is not really much of a level. You just run through it and then you go straight to Sky Sanctuary. But when you play as Sonic or Tails, it is such a fun level to play. I don't know if a lot of people notice this, but there is a part in this level where there are every single power-up that you can get, minus the S monitor that's only available in debug mode. But you get the speed shoes, you can get the invincibility, you can get all the shields that are in the game. And this is where you get to fight Knuckles. And this is when Knuckles realizes, wait, Sonic and Tails aren't the bad guys, because Eggman still is the Master Emerald. And I do wish it had his own music track rather than using Lava Reef Act 2, but Hidden Palace is such a good level. Anywho, moving on to my second favorite level in the entire game, Lava Reef. I love this level, and I love that when you play as Sonic and or Tails, you've got the Eggman boss that takes place in a separate part of Act 2, and you have to chase after him for the first half, and you gotta dodge lava, and it's such a fun level. I know a lot of people find it challenging, but if you got a fire shield, or if you're Super Sonic, it's pretty easy. Now, the boss is kind of a pain, though, because you gotta wait for him. Basically gotta wait for these platforms in stone to hit Eggman, but it's a lot easier when you're Super Sonic or have a fire shield. But this is where I'd place the Lava Reef. But, coming in at number 1, Ice Cap Zone is my favorite level in the entire game. I guess you probably could have seen that coming because it's also my favorite song in the entire game. But it's such a fun level because not only is it fun to play through and it's cool to see Sonic snowboard down that slope, after being stuck on Carnival Night Zone for a long time, to finally get to see what the next level has, it was such a breath of fresh air once I figured out how to beat Carnival Night Zone with that stupid Barrel of Doom. But of course I beat it first as Knuckles, but I was blown away. I was completely blown away. This is such a good level. This is the best level in the entire game. It's a winter theme. I love winter themes in video games, both music and level-wise. And it's a fun level to play. It really is. And there are some water segments, and you gotta be careful that you don't drown. But you can easily avoid them. Anywho, this is a ranking of all the levels in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And this has also been the finale of the 10 Days of Sonic. And tomorrow is Sonic's 35th anniversary. What will you be doing to celebrate the Blue Blurs anniversary tomorrow? I want to know. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with anything on my list? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for more, and I will catch you in the next video. You all take care, and thank you for watching the 10 Days of Sonic.